Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have been a great set of games for new fans of the franchise. With the holiday season coming up, I'm sure several people will start their Sinnoh journeys very soon. Which is why today, I'll be covering the top 10 hardest Pokemon to evolve in BDSP. If you guys enjoyed today's list, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this with the notification bell on so you never miss an upload. With that said, let's get in the number 10. Number 10 on today's list is none other than friendship-based evolutions. Evolving Pokemon through happiness has never been easier, since we've recently lowered the amount of happiness a Pokemon needs to evolve. This also is alleviated because of features such as Pokemon following you, making this method a lot quicker for trainers along their journey. But the big reason it falls in the number 10 on today's list comes from how random some of these Pokemon will evolve. Because the method to evolve is through friendship. This isn't some metric you can easily track. Trainers will randomly see their Budew evolve into a Roserade at level 17, whereas their friend might have one that doesn't evolve until level 29. Without knowledge of tricks to speed this process up, friendship-based evolutions are very tedious for newer trainers. The worst part about friendship evolutions is how you could also unintentionally drop your happiness. I'm sure that trainers who are newer to the franchise who may not know how happiness evolutions work will let their Pokemon faint, meaning they'll only take longer to actually evolve these Pokemon. Also, by using some easily accessible items such as the Revival Herb, will significantly decrease your happiness overall. There are a lot of nuances to friendship evolutions that will, in my opinion, be lost on newer players who aren't actively looking up a guide to this style of evolution. Because of this, I think that more players will definitely become frustrated with this evolution method, leaving it at number 10 on today's list. Our ninth option on today's list is none other than Garchomp. Garchomp has a couple of factors that will keep it on today's list, starting with its late encounter. We don't even encounter Gible until after defeating Byron, and it will most likely be underleveled for your current journey. This can be avoided if you wait until after defeating Candace to obtain one, however, as you can then find it in the Grand Underground at a proper level. Even if you wait to do this, however, the entire Garchomp evolution line takes a good amount of time to actually level up due to its slow experience yield. This will already add to the difficulty that it will take in order to evolve this Pokemon. If that wasn't enough, Garchomp also has a fairly high level for evolution at level 48. Level 48 would most likely not be obtained until you battle Volkner's gym, which is very close to the end of your journey. Because of this, Garchomp feels like it'd be a fairly difficult evolution for newer players to actually achieve in this region, which leaves it at number 9 on today's list. Number 8 on this list definitely takes a big jump from our first two options, but I gotta give it to trade evolutions. Trading Pokemon to evolve has been a core mechanic of the franchise since the first games, as one of the most important things is sharing Pokemon with your friends. This evolution method was actually a really cool idea at first. However, now it's just become a method that is more bothersome than anything. Unless you're trading locally though, you're at a pretty big disadvantage here when trying to evolve these Pokemon. For starters, there's the Nintendo Online service you'd need to pay for. This means you'll need to pay money in order to evolve some Pokemon in these games. Which, while I'm sure a lot of people probably have this online service anyway for other games, means that some players just will be unable to evolve some of their favorite Pokemon. Even if you do have Nintendo Online, there's a lot of other factors that actually make these Pokemon even more difficult to evolve. If you don't have other friends with the games, you'll always be risking your Pokemon being taken away by someone else who won't give it back after evolving. Then you'll be stuck with their level 3 Kricketot. Meanwhile, they're running off into battle with your Gengar. Speaking of Gengar, the point that really drives home how difficult the method can be to pick up on comes from an in-game trade you'll actually encounter in Snowpoint City. You can trade a Medicham for a Haunter, a Pokemon that typically evolves by trade without anything else required. This would typically lead to having a Gengar. However, the Haunter actually holds an Everstone. This means you can't even actually obtain a Gengar like you normally would, which may cause newer players to never realize that Haunter needs you to trade the Pokemon without this item in order to evolve it. With this in mind, trade evolutions definitely have to sit at number 8 on today's list. Our number 7 today is Pokemon that evolve through being a specific gender, or gender evolutions for short. This includes Pokemon such as Combee or Burmy, who require specific evolutions depending on the Pokemon you're aiming for. This is an evolution method that, while it's overall more difficult than some of our later options as a whole, I ranked lower on today's list, mostly due to the fact that you have an easier chance at accidentally evolving a Pokemon through this. Even though Pokemon like Combee only have a 1 in 8 chance of being found as a female, the gender you need to evolve it, it still can happen, especially with the access to it in the Grand Underground. Even with the Grand Underground though, to me trying to find a female Combee can still be a tad difficult. I think the harder Pokemon in this category come from Pokemon like Burmy who have split evolutions based on their gender. Whoever is evolving Burmy may struggle to get the evolution they want because they get 5 Burmy in a row that are male, when in reality they want a female one to get Wormadam. This could definitely turn into an issue for newer players, since one of those methods where they'll never realize why they're getting Pokemon they don't actually want, since they can't even just go back and try again. Other Pokemon that have split evolutions, such as Slowpoke and Poliwhirl, at least can have some say in this matter. If, for example, you wanted a Slowbro over a Slowking, you just need to level it up to 37. Otherwise, you can always utilize the King's Rock once you find it, and press B on your Slowpoke until you do so. With gender-based evolutions though, this is decided the moment you actually encounter the Pokemon, with no way to even change this in-game. With that said, that's why gender evolutions land themselves at number 7 on today's list. Number 6 on today's list is an evolution method that's fairly common for a lot of fan favorites in Generation 4, being move-based evolutions. These are typically found in the form of Ancient Power, and are utilized to evolve some Pokemon such as Yanma to Yanmega and Piloswine into Mamoswine. This is already a pretty big issue, because in a few cases, such as Piloswine, you actually need to find a heart scale in order to do this. Even if you know the method exists, this already makes it a bit more difficult, as in a good amount of cases you'll need to use a heart scale in order to evolve your Pokemon. Even if you're utilizing a Pokemon that doesn't require a heart skill to relearn its move of choice to evolve, you'll still need to actually realize what move it uses to evolve. This is because if you don't choose to teach your Tangela or Piloswine Ancient Power, you can't actually ever get that evolved form without a heart skill. There's nothing that really hints at what Pokemon evolve this way in-game either. So some players will just sit there with an unevolved version of some of these Pokemon and wonder why they can't ever evolve it. This is definitely going to be a more frustrating method than anything, leaving it at number 6 on today's list. Number 5 on today's list comes in the form of Shiny Stone Pokemon. Shiny Stone evolutions are definitely no cakewalk, because unless you're utilizing Pickup to find one, you're waiting until Iron Island, which is found accessible right before Byron's Gym. This can definitely be fairly difficult to find through Pickup, however, because unless you're intentionally doing a full team of 6 Pachirisu like I did, you'll be taking a while. Even with 6 Pachirisu that had Pickup in my party at once, I still took 11 minutes to find my Shiny Stone. And you'll also have to spend the time to actually catch these Pachirisu anyway. You're really going to struggle finding one through the Pickup route, but by all means, you're free to do so. If you're waiting until the post-game, you can technically actually find one more area where a Shiny Stone would be hidden. In the Grand Underground portion of the island, with areas such as the Survival Area and Resort Area, you can actually find Shiny Stones in the underground. I wanted to mention this because I know a few people who have found Shiny Stones in this area will probably mention this. However, you can only really do this in the post-game. It doesn't really help through the main journey, because if you don't go to Iron Island, which isn't required, you're basically forced to utilize Pickup, or you'll be using a Roselia against Cynthia instead of a Roserade. With this in mind, I gotta give Shiny Stone Evolutions the number 5 slot on today's list. Our number 4 option today is one of the more obnoxious evolution methods. Time evolutions have more than earned their spot at number 4 today, because you can't even evolve these Pokemon without it being a specific time of day. Usually a lot of these are either early or late in the day, which can end up causing players to have to almost plan their day around figuring out when to evolve specific Pokemon. If you change the time on your Switch to fix this, however, while this works for an immediate fix, it messes up other time-based events in-game, so I do recommend against this. Even if the time itself wasn't enough, there's some Pokemon that also require additional tasks. Pokemon such as Riolu need to achieve max happiness as well as during the daytime. Or if you're in the post-game, Eevee's evolution into Espeon or Umbreon can change by just a few hours. This can be rather annoying to deal with because it just makes a checklist out of obtaining a specific Pokemon. And while none of the individual tasks are too difficult, they most certainly add up. Time-based evolutions definitely are a struggle to work around, and ultimately cause too many issues for newer players to work around without actually knowing it's a mechanic. Like, think of it this way. If you didn't know you needed to evolve a Bidoof between 10 AM and 6 PM, do you think you would have actually evolved it? While some of you might say yes, this could easily, for a younger player, be a range they'd be in school during, and have to come home and work on homework before dinner, only to have that sort of time on a weekend. I know, because I was one of those kids. With this in mind, I gotta put time evolutions at number 4 today. Number 3 in today's list is going to go specifically to Clefable. Clefable takes the difficulty of happiness evolutions, but then raises it 1 Moonstone. Moonstones are the key factor here, because it's either in the Grand Underground Paths by Snowpoint City, or on Wild Clefairy for 5%. You can obviously try to use Thief on Clefairy until you get lucky, but you're really just hoping at this point to get lucky. Now, some of you might be saying, why not just catch Clefairy until you find a Moonstone and evolve it right away? While that's a way to look at it, ultimately the fact Clefairy even holds these is something most players won't know to do. This is a method I'm sure that, while there are easier ways to go about it, a lot of players sadly won't know about it. They'll fall into the trap of raising a Cleffa until it happens to evolve, and never know it also needs a Moonstone to evolve. This definitely hurts, because Clefable's such a powerhouse in these games too. Yet a lot of new players who made the smart choice of catching Cleffa won't even realize they have such a monster hidden in their party. With that said, I gotta give Clefable number 3 on today's list. Coming in at number 2, we have the item-based evolutions for non-evolutionary stones. These include items such as the Electrizer, Magmarizer, or any other Pokemon-specific items. Usually, you'll see these items require you to trade the Pokemon while holding them, which adds on to the already annoying aspect of trade evolutions. To make matters worse, you'll find a lot of these items late in your adventure, if not post-game. These Pokemon, despite being so widely loved, are absolutely horrendous to actually find in-game. If only these items kept their platinum encounters, as that'd make the struggle over actually obtaining evolutions such as Electivire less monotonous. If you'd rather not wait until the post-game, similar to Clefairy, you can actually find some of these items in some cases on wild Pokemon from previous stages. So Pokemon such as Electabuzz and Magmar in the Grand Underground may possibly give you a bit of a bailout here instead of waiting until after Cynthia. If you think this is bad though, we somehow have one evolution that's actually even worse than this. Our final evolutionary method on this list is by far the worst one. This comes down to Melodic's evolution, which sadly reverted back to the nightmare-inducing methods of previous games. In BDSP, Melodic is only able to evolve by maximizing its beauty stat. This means you'll need to feed it specific poffins, which is already an annoying feature. To make matters worse, you'll need berries that specifically target the beauty stat, which, for newer players, means they need to learn about what stats each berries boost. If you want an easy way to make dry poffins for the beauty stat, I recommend orange berries. If this wasn't bad enough though, you first need to actually obtain a Feebas. Feebas is an absolute pain to obtain though, as it's available in one of 4 randomized surf tiles in Mount Coronet. This is thankfully made easier because the only path these tiles are contained in is on the lower floor, which you can obtain access to on the same route you take going to Snow Point. You'll need a good rod to find this Pokemon, and it's a very rare Pokemon even among these tiles. Anyone wanting to evolve a Feebas better tread cautiously, because it's not for the faint of heart. So that's today's list of the hardest Pokemon to evolve in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you were able to learn something new. Be sure to let me know down below what Pokemon you guys thought were the hardest to evolve. There might be some of you guys that may disagree with me, so I'm definitely curious to see what you guys have to say. Hey guys, thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. It's exciting times for the Pokemon franchise, and I look forward to the coming months where it just keeps getting better. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all of this without them. If you guys are wanting some more bite-sized Mystic Umbreon content, please check out my TikTok, where I upload daily, as well as the Mystic Umbreon Shorts channel. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, it really helps us out. I think it's time to wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.